everyone, how are you? Okay, today we'll be talking about product management. Maybe we can start with a quick introduction. My name is Bruno Oliveira, I'm the product lead here at payabl, and we are happy to sponsor this event today. And we'll be talking about a couple of things on product management. It might be a new topic for you, for some of you, and we'd like to bring shed some light on what we're doing and how we can bring better products to the market. So why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Paul Burke. I'm the product manager at Archax. I've been at Archax for a little over 6 years now. Archax is a regulated exchange for digital assets, so we have a number of products. We have an MTF market that allows us to offer digital securities. We have a crypto exchange, we have tokenization service, and then we offer fundraising abilities as well. I guess, Bruno, we'll talk about how we came to be product managers to start.
Yeah, not only, but what's product management, so we can start with that. What do you understand of product management, and how can we expand a little bit of this domain for the audience so they know what we do?
So my background, which is very similar in terms of how it starts, was business analysis. So I was a business analyst at a Canadian bank. I'm Canadian, for those of you who are wondering what my accent is. So I worked in Fintech at a major Canadian bank in Swift Payments. And something that we've both agreed is that most product owners and product managers typically start off as business analysts. It just seems like a natural progression. It's just business analysis is something that's more waterfall, whereas product ownership, product management is more of the agile methodology. So I worked at the bank for about 10 years, moving through from business, as a business analyst onto project management and then IT management. And then I got into blockchain. I actually self-taught. I just started reading up on it. Decided that there was a future here, there was something I wanted to get into. So I started applying out for jobs, and I'm a dual citizen, so I was able to apply both here and in Canada. And at the time, there were a lot more roles in the blockchain space in London than there were in Toronto. And yeah, so I came to work for Archax. I've been with them for 6 years. And then as far as product management, I started off as a business analyst with Archax. It just sort of progressed into a product owner type role and then product management. So I helped them to build from the beginning. I was the 6th employee, which includes the 3 co-founders, and you'll meet one of the co-founders later. So from the beginning, I was writing a lot of documentation. I was creating workflows. I was trying to define, because something important about business analysts is that they sort of bridge the gap between technology and business. Because you probably won't be surprised, but there tends to be a lot of misunderstandings between the business and technology, where the same word can have entirely different meanings. And I've sat in meetings where people have argued about licenses, where they're talking about completely different things. So with Archax, I wrote a lot of the early documentation, the processes. I defined a lot of workflows, and then that was used to determine the requirements for what we were going to build. And then the role just sort of progressed into a product management, where I now have a team of product owners under me who write the user stories, manage the backlogs, what you'd expect a product owner to do, whereas I'm giving them guidance on the direction we're going, what sort of epics they're working on, and I'm discussing with the executives the roadmap and what we think we'll be working on in 3 to 6 months and 6 to 12 months.
Perfect. On my side, I started my career also as a business analyst, but my focus was always on the fintech and banking domain. And there, I started with the process mapping of the whole payment journey, and then I ended up changing roles within insurance as well, consultancy, and then end up in product ownership. And that's where I found out that if I want to have a greater impact in the company, I need to be closer to the stakeholders, and therefore also bridge the gap between engineering and business. A lot of misunderstanding that happens a lot. Sometimes even the button can create some confusion, and the product managers are there to make sure that we we iron out everything to go to production. A little bit about what we can do in the product management area, right? What we do on a daily basis is that we create a vision for our product. We create a strategy, the go-to-market strategy as well. We talk with marketing teams, we talk with the executives, and we try to make sure that we are all going towards the same direction. Yeah? So talking about this direction, so what would be the role of feedback in shaping good products?
Yeah, feedback is very important, and it's something. I think is this not working or? Okay, and it's something that's always evolving, and that we're changing our approach at Archax. So, for example, we've only just really gone public and live with our crypto exchange in the last 6 months. So leading up to that, whenever it came to feedback, it was usually from internal staff, from the different stakeholders that we had. So as you said, I mean, you have the marketing team, you have to talk to your operations, because if they're going to run it, they need to understand what they're doing. You're going to talk to compliance, we need to make sure we're not breaking any laws. And now we're starting to get to the point where, because we're getting traction and we have more and more customers signing up, that we're getting feedback from the customers. And that's something that we're just starting to explore just within the last few months, is how to take in that customer feedback and work on that. But you always have to be very careful, because everyone will always have an opinion, and you need to filter out the important opinions from the less than valuable ones.
Yeah, I think that you need to align the feedback received with your overall strategy, and we also need to understand how to get this raw feedback. I think it's very important that it's like less filtered by departments, because sometimes we get feedback from sales that they have their own biases, and then we get feedback from sales plus marketing. So I think it's important to have this one-to-one relationship for consumers. And what we see in the fintech world is that whilst AI is very good, sometimes we traumatize people with support agents, right? And then the only question that they ask the AI is, can I talk with a real person? So they need to bear that in mind and have this human touch to it, and that's what payabl brings to the table. I think we launched here in the UK our B2B banking, I think at the beginning of the year, and our core value proposition is to be next to the clients, to understand their needs, and feedback is at the core of our value proposition, right? And what do we do with feedback when we receive them?
Yeah, and actually I think something I'd like to point out also is, because I've been looking into customer feedback recently, because I will be getting my product owners to focus that on that a little more, is ensuring that you standardize the questions and answers. They need to be objective and not subjective, because if you're just going to give free format answers, you're just going to end up analyzing it, and you're not necessarily going to find patterns. Whereas you want to try and come up with either multiple choice or multiple selection questions when you can, or ranking. That way you can look for more statistical patterns on feedback. I mean, you can still ask for the free format feedback, because there will be some value in that. But it's just realistically, if you're going to get hundreds or thousands of forms coming back, you're not going to want to read through that.
And sometimes you can also link towards a different approach. That's the A/B testing. So you take a subset of users, and then you give a different flow, and then the other subset of users, and then you put some hypotheses in place. That is, with subset A, they will make transfers 30% faster, right? And you validate your hypothesis, and you see the results, right? So it's a way to gather feedback in a different manner rather than asking questions.
Yeah. But I think we probably want to move on to the next topic was MVP.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about MVP. So for those who do not know, MVP means minimum viable product. And this is some strategy that we use while we are trying to get fast to the market to test some hypothesis, right? And many times MVP is extrapolated to something much bigger, but let's try to stick to what we have as the core principle of MVP, right? When you're trying to create some MVP, we're always looking for testing the hypothesis, and you're always trying to get to the market fast and fail fast, but as well learn fast, right? So do you have any experience launching some MVPs?
Yeah, actually, and I like how you say test the hypothesis, because I was a science student before I got into technology, so one thing I always thought that was a strength when I got into product development was having the science background and having that approach. But yeah, with MVP, the key there and the difficulty can be stakeholder management, because they'll have this dream where they'll want all these features, they'll want it to be sexy, they'll want it to just look perfect, but you have to sort of explain to them that there's a trade-off, because the better it looks, the longer it's going to take, and you're just simply not going to get to market. And there's other terms as well. There's minimum viable product, there's minimum marketable product, which is the next step. Yeah.
They also call minimal lovable product. Yeah. To make your stakeholders love it, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah. But the key is to try and just keep the stakeholders focused on getting something out there, because the difficulty is unless you have something out there, you're not going to see what the bugs are, you're not going to realize, exceptions are probably the hardest part of product development, and even just writing code in general. It's easy to do the happy path and do the perfect route. It's all the little considerations that you don't think about, where people are very creative in their use of your product, that you have to worry about.
Yeah, I think the main problem with MVP is communication. And today, when I have cross-located teams, you should bear in mind that over-communication is not a problem. You need to over-communicate and talk. So we're not creating some MVP and are trying to push this forward to the market. You need to explain your goals and your objectives to ensure that everybody's on the same page, because when your bottom line is like customer acquisition or penetration in the market, right? You always try to go as fast as possible, right? Otherwise, your competitors will eat you alive.
Yeah, and I think it's important to keep on track as well. Try not to deviate. I mean, it's not to say that you can't deviate, because sometimes it may become clear while you're building the product that you need to make a change, you need to pivot in some way. But the danger is if you go down too many rabbit holes, you just lose sight of getting something out there. And instead you're spending time just building all sorts of little half features.
Yeah, when it comes to half features, that my experience building MVPs with my teams is that when you launch the MVP, it's not the end. You need to over-communicate and say, this is not over, this is just the beginning. And we are not going to go anywhere, because I think with the previous project management waterfall style, everybody was very much afraid of the planning phase. So after something is done, there comes the planning phase for 3 months, then the requirement phase for 2 months, and development again. So how long do we need to wait to get something out there, right? Case of product management is a little bit different. So we are always gathering feedback. We check our MVP, what are the next initiatives to change the product.
Yeah, absolutely. The agile methodology, it's important to remember that you're forever reviewing your requirements, you're changing things, you're getting feedback. It's a very malleable process. It's not like waterfall, where you agree everything up front, and then if you find that it's not going to work, you end up doing a project change request, which takes another 3 to 6 months. You're reacting almost immediately. But the key to MVP is to get something out there so that you can start to look at where the issues are, what you've missed, and start to get feedback from the stakeholders on what you've delivered so far.
Yeah, the key for MVP is empirical knowledge, right? We want to deliver more, to understand what are the results, and then deliver more and more. Then we can see the value in the market, right? Let's just change the topic a little bit, and can you tell me what's your day in life for product management?
Wow. I probably spend half my day in meetings. We do 2-week sprints, and I tend to join the sprint ceremonies at the end and some of the daily stand-ups. I have regular meetings, I have monthly with the executives to discuss the prioritization of upcoming work. I manage a page which shows the next 6 sprints worth of work that we're planning. So right now we have 4 teams that are working on development. We had up to 6 at one point. And then I have some element of product ownership as well, because we have some more, well, we have a tokenization engine, which is a little more DeFi. That's something I'm a little more familiar with, so I tend to take on more responsibility for even just testing it and managing it through. Otherwise, I'm reviewing requirements, I'm working with my product owners to make sure we have workflows defined, user stories written, and we've agreed on acceptance criteria.
Yeah, many meetings as well, but we also align the strategy with the stakeholders, with the executive team, and now that you're going to different markets, and we need to understand what are the main product lineup that we have for different places that we are launching, right? Meetings with my product managers for sure to understand where they are at and how the product is lining up to the main vision, yeah? And now we have something that we are trying to consolidate all of our products into one front end that's called payabl one. So all of our financial service, core banking, card acquiring, issuing, POS, will be all displayed in one place. So it's kind of a bigger endeavor for all of us to get together, understand how we can join, I don't know, around 40 engineers to develop what we need to develop.
Yeah, and then also I tend to just read up on the industry just to make sure I'm on top of the trends. And I definitely, it's something I've always told to anyone that asks. I attend meetups, meetings, find events. That's how you're going to meet people. It's how you're going to learn. If you're interested in blockchain, there's one called Ethereum London, which is really good. Although they haven't really had a meetup in some time. But you can definitely find some good ones out there where you can learn a lot on the subject. And just being, because something about product manager, product owners, you're a subject matter expert as well, which is very important and key to the business.
Yeah, usually we come from some product, some subset of a product before I become a product lead. In my case, I was responsible for the core banking team, so I still test myself. I go to the product, I make transfers, I send to my Revolut, from my Revolut to my normal account. And yeah, I think this is something that we can say that makes us proud of. And when you see something coming out of an idea and then becoming a real product and clients logging in and clients making transfers and doing and performing currency exchange, this really makes a difference. So that's why I like product management.
Yeah.
Should we open up for some questions?
I think so.
Yeah.
Regarding competition, any words on that in terms of like there are a lot of fintech companies, a lot of fintech companies which are coming up. So and the product team, how do you guys deal with the pressure of a lot of companies and coming up with similar products, and how would you differentiate with them and how do you keep up the pace with them?
Well, to keep up the pace with the competitors is that what differentiates you from them is that you need to have your own strategy. You cannot follow someone else's strategy, right? And then based on that, we will create your own hypothesis for every product line that you have. And then also address the market needs, right? It's very important to address the market needs. And if you put all of these elements together, we will find your niche, and then there you will be able to develop a successful product line.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest with the competitors, it's really just keep up to date with what they're doing, because you could, quite honestly, probably learn quite a bit and realize that there are steps or products that you're missing and you're not thinking about by watching them.
I guess you mentioned like aligning like stakeholders. Can you give an example, like your most challenging example where you had to do that?
All right. Okay. So we had a request for one of our clients that they wanted to make kind of bulk transfers via an Excel file, and then we were quite strong about it because, in fact, when we use external files, we're susceptible to failures. So if someone adds the files, then we have problems, right? So we had a conversation with our stakeholders, we put everything on the table, and explained, look, this is gonna take us 2 months to do it right, and we don't want to do it wrong, yeah? And we have one client that requested, and we're sure that we want to put all the manpower and the effort into this initiative, and then we start brainstorming together. I think the thing is all about communication and let them know about the challenges that we have. Be transparent and vulnerable, yeah? Because sometimes saying that something is hard is the best thing that we can do instead of hide, pretending that everything is very easy. nowadays, everything seems to be very easy, but there are a lot of things happening in the background. You need to set up your infrastructure, you need to get your team aligned with it, you need to make sure that you have all the requirements in place. Sometimes you need to create different user journeys for different users and designs, and this all costs money and time.
Yeah, I would say if anything, for me, the difficulty is always getting consensus and finding compromise. Because when you have different stakeholders, they have different needs, they have different motivations, and sometimes they're just not going to get what they want. And you have to somehow find a way to get them to agree to just wait or to accept what they're getting for the time being. Because it's a matter of prioritizing all the work that's out there, so nobody's ever going to get everything they want.
May have new ideas or want to try to implement new ideas, innovations, features to products. Have you faced resistances from other colleagues, especially from other teams, other departments? How do you usually deal with it?
Well, it all depends on how you filter out ideas, right? Everybody will have some idea about your product. You just need to filter them out and make sure that we put somehow some prioritization to it. So what we like to do, we use the right method. So we try to estimate the reach, the effort, the impact, and then we put everything onto a chart and say, okay, let's take a look at the ideas, right? And if some idea goes through, then it's pretty evident for everybody involved what's going to happen next and what's the impact and how confident we are that we can deliver such an initiative, right? Because an idea becomes an initiative, and then we'll get all the departments involved. Sometimes we'll have AML department and compliance a little bit, are we sure we can do that? And yeah, we just need to get them on board and explain the overall impact.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a matter of getting them to get buy-in to the idea. And like I said before, sometimes it's just a matter of compromise or explaining, because there may not be the resources to do what they want immediately, and they just have to accept that. And sometimes you just have to get a tiebreaker in, which is someone